So welcome to this week's video. This week we thought we would do something a little bit different. So a few weeks ago I was kindly invited to take part in a podcast with Kim Grant. So Photographic Connections. If you don't know about it, have a look. There are some amazing stories from photographers all around the world, very moving and very powerful. So I was absolutely blown away to be invited onto the podcast to talk about my journey into photography, how it all started, what sparked the interest, and why we like the coast. So this week, what we thought we would do is just share a little bit more with you than what we normally do. So when we normally come out, we're talking about where we are, what we're doing with the camera, settings, composition. But there's always more to the person behind the camera. And I think over the last couple of weeks, I've really thought about that a lot more than I ever have with listening to other people's podcasts. And it's actually made me want to connect with other people and other photographers, which I've never done before. I always shied away a little bit and sort of maybe a little bit that imposter syndrome. But even just this week, I've been reaching out to people that I wouldn't normally because, you know, you sort of feel a bit that you shouldn't. So it's been a really positive thing to get involved with because other people, since doing the podcast, have gotten in touch with us and spoke to us about their stories. And I don't know, it just feels like it's connected things a little bit more. So, yeah, this week, as I say, we thought we'd do something a little bit different, and we've come up to Borfiddle Rock, which is a place that actually sparked the interest in seascape photography in 2019. So if you've not heard the podcast or seen the YouTube video of the podcast, this will all be new. If you have seen that and heard it, apologies. But in 2016, I started getting a little bit interested into photography and things progressed. So in 2019, we came up here to Borfiddle Rock and it absolutely blew our minds. The atmosphere, the structure of the sea arch, the cliffs, everything about it just sparked something. And ever since then, we've been back up to the same place 2, 3, 4 times before we even moved to Scotland. And we've actually been here 4 times in the last 5 days because it's a place that we keep coming back to. So during the video, I'm not sure sort of what the conditions are going to do tonight. We've got a bit of blue sky, we've got some nice cloud. It is high tide currently, but as the theme of our last few videos with the tide, it's very calm again. So I don't know what's going to happen. Last night, as it got a little bit nearer to sunset, the tide did pick up a little bit. The sun's going to go down in a clear little spot, so we might get some nice photographs, but the video is more around sharing and trying to connect a little bit with you as the viewers at home. So probably the most important reason for us that we come up to the coast is escapism. Getting up to the coast, getting out with the cameras, and whilst we're doing that, you completely zone out of everything else that you're doing and you're taking in the conditions, you're thinking about the light, you're thinking about your compositions with your camera, listening to the sounds of the waves, the seabirds, feeling the wind on your face and the rain on your face. And it's those moments that drive you to go out. You know, quite often, even in the last sort of 3 or 4 nights that we've been out, there's been a couple of times that we've thought, can't really be bothered. But when you get in the car and get up here, you forget that you couldn't be bothered at all, and you go home feeling refreshed. And especially if you've had the conditions that you hoped for, because you then feel exhilarated, refreshed, renewed, and it gives you that, I don't know, it's like such a rush. And the images are almost a bonus that you come away with, they're your memories. And that's one thing that me and Max have always said, that doing the videos is something that we initially started doing to share with family and friends, and so that we could look back at where we'd been, what we'd done, what we'd seen, and things just progressed with the videos and with the photography. And I think because we enjoy it so much, making the videos and taking the images, that it sort of becomes another creative outlet that you can share with other people as opposed to just images. So I think that's one thing that's really nice about doing the videos on YouTube. There are some downsides, and I'm sure people that do videos themselves will know what they are. But yeah, the reason, going back to the reason that we come up to the coast is this. This is my favourite view on the east coast of Scotland. You've got 3 bays that you can sort of get in amongst. You've got the rocks, the textures, the patterns, the different shades, the different times of year. So with the seabirds, the sea flowers, it just at different times of year looks very different. And a few weeks ago we came up for a sunset and the sea thrift was so vibrant, and then just a couple of weeks later the colour is completely gone. And that's another thing that's nice about coming to the coast, is that everything changes very quickly. Even when you're out during that time, maybe an hour or 2 hours that you come out to the coast, things can change pretty quickly, especially in Scotland. So just recently we've had some storms, some horrendous thick clouds coming in. The tide was still relatively calm. I can't wait for the winds to start coming back in and creating a bit of texture and a bit of motion in those waves. But it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you feeling alive, and that's why we love it. So I started the video by saying it was quite apt that we'd come up to Bowfield Rock tonight, because that's where the interest in seascape photography came from in 2019. I'll pop the 2 images up for you that I was so proud of at the time. It was when I was just really getting into photography, using filters to smooth the water, and I was so made up with those images. And we've kept coming back, and I think that journey in photography and coming up to the coast on Scotland and the Scottish landscapes is what then prompted the move exactly this time last year to Scotland. So it was a year ago yesterday that we moved into our house, and things are very different. At the moment, Max is still working full time, so from a getting out and producing the videos and visiting locations, yep, we do get around, but we try and film videos together so that we've got a few in front. And sometimes it can be difficult to keep that going, and that's maybe one of the downsides to YouTube that we spoke about a little bit before. But things are going to change. Max is taking early retirement, and we're hoping that that is going to give us so much more time to focus on photography and getting out to places like this. You know, just a few weeks ago we saw the dolphins swimming past with an absolutely beautiful sunset, and we'll pop some of those images up for you and a little bit of footage from those previous outings that we've had. But you know, the thing, I suppose, what we're trying to get across on this week's video is that everybody has their own reasons for doing photography. Sometimes it's escapism, sometimes it's trying to deal with something that's going on in your life, sometimes it's a distraction. But more often than not, when you get out, you really enjoy what you're doing, and that passion for photography and that drive to get out takes over. It certainly does with us, I can tell you that for sure. And it's been probably the one thing in our lives since maybe 2016-17 that's kept us going and given us a focus and kept us sane probably, and coming back out, which is massively key. So yeah, I suppose the one thing that just I want to maybe finish the video with is, maybe it'd be really, really nice if you could leave us a little comment and let us know what sparked your interest in photography. What drives you to get out? Is it the coast? Is it the landscapes? Maybe a little bit more of that connecting and that interacting in the comments would be absolutely fantastic. You know, people comment quite regular every week, but we know that there's a lot of people that watch that don't comment, and it'd be nice to hear from you too. So yeah, I suppose a different video. I think we're going to stick around for sunset and see what happens. There is a real nice gap there on the horizon, so yeah, it might shape up to be something quite decent, but we didn't really want to talk to you about the photography tonight. It was more a bit more of a personal video, I think, tonight. So if we do manage to get anything from this evening, we'll pop the images up for you. And yeah.
So everyone will have their own reasons and their own story about why they love photography and enjoy getting out with the camera. For us, it started in 2016, coming up to Scotland with a little point and shoot camera, and things progressed from there. In the August of 2017, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer, stage 4, and for that time, our lives just fell apart. It was horrendous. We looked after Dad at home, so during the last 12 weeks of his life, we cared for him at home, and it's an experience that was absolutely devastating for everybody. So we lost Dad in the April of 2018 and sort of started trying to put your life back together, and photography always remained a key part in recovering, I suppose, mentally, and getting out, enjoying the places that we went to and the experiences that we had. In then 2020, obviously with the pandemic, the world changed and everything that we did halted and things just were so different. And again, from that family point of view and from a mental health point of view, things were tough. You know, you couldn't go out, there was no creative outlet, so started to try and look at other ways that we could do that, with playing the keyboard and doing a little bit of woodwork. We were trying to look after family members during that time, the same as everybody else, and really unexpectedly in the December of 2020, just a few days before Christmas, Mum was taken into hospital and passed away. They put COVID on my mum's death certificate, which meant that in terms of the funeral, there were a lot of restrictions and things that we couldn't do in terms of saying goodbye, which is the same for everybody's family that were involved in that time that passed away. We'd also been through redundancy at work, and I don't know, for those probably 3 years, things were just really difficult, and you sort of just tried to get over one thing and something else started and something else changed or happened, and it's really difficult to keep picking yourself back up. But again, that photography and getting out with the camera was just one thing that we kept coming back to, coming up to Scotland, that time that we had, that downtime, that peacefulness, that calm feeling that you get, especially in Scotland for us with the camera, is just really what kept us sane. And developing your skills and your knowledge around photography, that learning was a huge distraction. So yeah, just thought we would share a little bit more with you from that point of view, and that personal story of how photography developed and changed our lives over a period of 3 years. And that's why we love the coast. Being out with the cameras has had such a positive influence on our lives, and experiencing views like this really does help. This was the best sunset that we'd seen in a long while, and although the storm clouds came rolling in again just a few days later, it doesn't matter. those feelings and those experiences that you have is what drives you to keep getting back out.
So hope you've enjoyed the video tonight. I know that's been very, very different, but we came out with the aim of just talking to you than talking about the camera. I think it's been nice to sort of share a little bit more, and it's probably something that we'll do again. But yeah, it's just, I think, opened up a thought process of sharing a little bit more and maybe a bit more of that story behind who we are and what we do every week. So yeah, I hope that's been interesting. If you haven't seen the videos or the podcast, I'll put a little link in the description. Check out some of the other videos, especially Kim's very, very moving and powerful story. And the fact that photography can make such a difference to people is amazing. Amazing. So yeah, the sunset might be quite nice. We just need to sort of maybe sit a minute and have a look. We've just seen something swimming out there that I don't know if it was a dolphin or a little minke whale, I'm not sure, but it was quite large. So we're going to just take it in for a bit. So yeah, we'll leave you for there. We'll see you next week. Take care. Adios.